Hello, my name is Stephanie Jones, and this is my country profile presentation of Australia. To give you a little bit of an overview of Australia as a whole, it was established in 1901 officially as the Commonwealth of Australia, and it is located in between the Indian Ocean and the South Pacific Ocean. It has 6 states and 2 territories, and it has a population a little less than 26 million people. That, to give you an idea, is a lot less than the United States population that has a little less than 330 million people as of July 2021. In Australia, the largest group of people is the 25 to 54-year-old range, around 41.15% of them. I think this is a good indication for business because it shows that the majority of people are able to work and are in the workforce at this time. Some key points about Australia's ecosystem and environment is they are very rich in natural resources, especially in coal. They are the world's largest exporter in coal, accounting for 29% in 2020, and they are home to a very advanced and successful agricultural sector. The 2 graphics that I've put on the slide here, on the left-hand side shows the different climates that makes up the country, as well as on the right-hand side is their land use. I think this gives a really good idea of how it's so diverse in the different areas and the abilities they have to operate in these different industries in agriculture, such as, the different resources that they have available to them. Looking at the economic overview and environment in Australia, they have a federal parliamentary democracy and they operate in an open market. They have a common law system based on the English model for their legal operations. So that's kind of their policy makeup and everything like that. When it comes to trade, they have minimal restrictions on the imports of goods and services, and their main profitable industries include mining, industrial and transportation equipment, food processing, chemical, steel, and they are seeing intense growth in their telecommunications industry. They are really striving right now to penetrate into this market, introducing broadband technology, investing in research and development for this market, such as 5G, different fiber networks, and mobile digitalization and mobile wireless technologies. Australia operates in free trade agreements with a lot of dominant global players, which I think is a really key indication for business over there because they are really trying to become a dominant player like China and the United States. And so they're engaging in more and more trade with all of these countries to catch up to them and make their mark. The unemployment rate as of August 2021 was at a 4.5% rate. This is the lowest reading since November of 2008, according to the World Bank, and it is the 10th consecutive month they've seen a decrease in unemployment rate. The bottom right graph here actually shows this as a visual, so that's a really good indication that the businesses are sustainable, the jobs are becoming more stable, and the retention rates are growing as well. The GDP in 2020 was 1,330.9 billion US dollars, and it is projected to grow by 3.4% in 2022. This is a great sign for the output and growth of the industries and the economy as a whole in Australia. And I've moved my camera here just to show you the graphic depictions of the GDP. The first one up here is just over the past few years, and it obviously shows the big effect of COVID-19. But I thought it was interesting how they were able to bounce back in January 2021 to a positive GDP, up almost 9%. So it shows that they're really a fluctuating economy striving for growth and prosperity. The entrepreneurial activity in Australia is a very interesting thing to me because when we look at the strengths, the World Bank has rated Australia as a very easy place to start a business. They were ranked as one of the top 10 in the world. And when I looked at the World Fact Book, the Ease of Doing Business Index score in 2020 gave Australia an overall rating of 81.2 and a starting a business score of 96.6. So all of these statistics that are very reputable and credible are stating it's a really great place to start a business. It's attractive. The ease of market entry is superior to a lot of other places in the world. So that's very key for entrepreneurs to pay attention to when they're considering opening up a business in a country such as Australia. Some other key strengths that I found in their environment is that from 2020 to 21, there was a 3.8% increase in the number of businesses, and they have a higher entry rate of business than they do exit rate at 15.8% compared to 12%. So there's more businesses coming into Australia and opening up than there are leaving, which I think shows that there is going to be competition as it continues to grow, but it shows that it's an optimal place and you can do it. You can start your company there. When looking at the workforce and the abilities of Australia as a country for conducting your business, 40% of them have a higher education and 30% are born overseas, with 2.1 million able to speak an Asian language. Australia has a very diverse and creative workforce. It's something that they're known for around the entire world. They're extremely innovative and they work really hard, and they are a country that focuses on specialization. A lot of people go straight into their trade after their primary education and they become experts at what they do, which I think is very important for entrepreneurs to find people who are specialists in something because they're going to be the best. Looking at the bottom right-hand photo here, this shows a layout between the United States and Australia's entrepreneurial ecosystems. And so they compete relatively similarly across every field besides here, the cultural and social norms, which I'm going to talk about next. But overall, they are relatively very close competitors with one another, as Australia has grown a lot in their entrepreneurial status with further investments in research and development and education over the past few years, especially. Looking at the weaknesses of the entrepreneurial environment in Australia, the reason I said I will talk about this in a little bit about the cultural norms is for this reason. I believe the biggest weakness and hindrance to going over there or even starting a business there, if you're from there, is the social norm and the attitudes behind starting a business and being an entrepreneur. The fear kind of holds people back over there. In this article that I've quoted here a few times by Scott Kemmis, it's very interesting because about half of Australians do identify good business ventures and opportunities, but the fear of failure prevents them from going for it, whereas that is only affecting about a third of Americans at the same time. So I really think that, especially after COVID, people are fearful of starting a business and taking those big leaps, but it's going to be very important for them to do so in order to continue to be a competitive player in the global marketplace. And so I think if you were to go over there and start a business, you might find some challenges getting people on board with you for an innovative and such different idea as a startup. But it's something that if you're prepared for, you could obviously overcome. And then just a couple other barriers I think that would be a possible weakness are immigration barriers if you're coming from a different country into Australia, as well as the fact they do place an administration goods and services tax of 10%. So that's just something to keep in mind starting a business when comparing your options for the different locations. Last but not least, there's the policy roadmap that's affecting the entrepreneurial ecosystem in Australia right now. The two graphs that I've put, not graphs, the two photos that I've put are from the OECD article that I've put as the policy roadmap article for this presentation. It is a great summary and insight into what Australia is doing right now to reform business structure and systems and to make it a prosperous place, an attractive place for people to operate in. One of the biggest is in 2020 as part of their COVID-19 relief, they did decrease household and business income taxes. Obviously, that is a positive thing when you want to start a business somewhere. Decreased taxes is great. And this quote I really like says, recent progress has been particularly visible in reforms favoring conditions for doing business and aiming at boosting productivity growth. The government has reformed the insolvency framework, introducing debtor-friendly, lower cost and faster liquidation models for small businesses in January of 2021. So this country, Australia, is really striving to make business a more transparent and painful process for everybody that's involved, and because they want to see it grow. And then the bottom photo that I put here is relating to the environment. And it's just showing that there's a lot of shifts happening over there right now with the way they're conducting business in regards to the energy being used, the environmental standards, So that could very much affect the entrepreneurial ecosystem because you have to be in regulation. And I think these are wonderful advancements. And so if you're someone who's thinking of starting a startup into efficient technologies, this might be an optimal place for you because the government is putting substantial investment into such ventures such as this. And one of the biggest things that happened in 2020 affecting trade and business operations is the Regional Comprehensive Economic Partnership that was signed on November 15th of 2020. It is a trade agreement by most of the countries in the Pacific Islands and Asia, and they include India, Australia, China, Japan, Korea, New Zealand, as well as a ton of others. And it is the first time a trade agreement like this has been formed. And it's opening up all of these countries kind of for the first time to all of each other. And so this is a great sign for entrepreneurs who are wishing to expand on a global scale, because now the trade between all of these countries has become a reality and much easier than it ever was before. So the articles that I have linked here, one of which is about that Regional Comprehensive Economic Partnership. It goes in great detail of what it is, the countries involved, the implications for the future and for startups. So if you're interested, I would really recommend reading that. And then the Economic Policy Reforms 2021 Going for Growth is the wonderful summary about the policies being enacted right now, as well as recommendations for the future for Australia to optimize their growth potential. And then the entrepreneurial ecosystem article that I've put here is the comparison between Australia and the United States, because it really gives a great insight and overview of both countries and the environments regarding entrepreneurship. And I think it's a wonderful comparison, as well as individual analyses of them both. I really hope you enjoyed this presentation. And if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to email me and let me know. Thank you so much.